This story happened in a village that is located in one of the corners in Siberia. On the outskirts of this village there lived an elderly woman who lost all her relatives and was left all alone. Her cat Musya lived with her, and that's it. Once the men went hunting and found lairs with cubs. There were 3 of them in the den. They wanted to take 2, but they did not know where to put the third, but they decided that they would take it, and then we would give it to someone. Just after returning from the forest, they passed near the house of this woman. They knew that she was lonely and very fond of animals. They knew that she and her husband had dogs and he was a hunter. They thought and threw her a wolf cub. The woman went outside and saw the puppy. She immediately realized that someone had planted it for her, decided that she should leave it, at least some protection, otherwise she lives on the outskirts. And here at least it barks. If anything, the cub grew up playful and affectionate, loved to play with the cat, and the woman named him Musya. The cub responded to the new name and ran to his mistress. She found out that he was a wolf in the store. One woman asked him how your wolf was doing. Many people knew that the hunters had left her a wolf cub. The woman did not understand before why the puppy did not bark and somehow did not look very much like a dog, but now she could no longer give it to someone because she had become very attached to it in 3 months. He lived right in her hut, and in winter he often lay on the doorstep because he was hot in the house. It was very far from the neighbors and they were separated by a pond, and in each other's sides he climbed everywhere. So she walked him every day and he didn't run away from her. He was an extremely kind predator. When she went to the store, she left him in the house and he did not mess around, but just waited for his mistress. They lived together for more than a year. It was no longer easy for a woman to feed a wolf, because he needed a lot of meat that she could not afford to buy for retirement. She treated a cat that was weak on a collective farm and did not survive. She always kept a bottle of white wine to pay the peasants for the carcass. They butchered this carcass for her, took milk from the collective farm as pensioners were given for pennies because the times of the unions were still fed with cereals and sprinkles. She always added nettles to food when there was an opportunity, what vitamins, and the veterinarian was a good man on the collective farm, helped with vitamins. Once there was a rumor in the village that criminals had escaped from the colony and allegedly they were hiding somewhere in the fox. The police warned everyone. In the evening, the woman was sitting and watching TV. Musya and Musya were at home when she heard a knock on the window. The wolf was nervous, to which the hostess calmed down. She thought that someone was her village. When she went outside, she was immediately hit on the head and 3 criminals flew into the house and were stunned by what they saw unexpectedly, looked at them with an animal grin. A real wolf. When one of them raised a sawn-off shotgun to shoot, the wolf rushed at him, and the others ran out of the house and rushed to the forest. The wolf let go of the bitten hand of the criminal and rushed after the others, but he stopped and ran up to his mistress and began to lick her face. The bandit who was in the house ran out and shot at the wolf earlier and wanted to run away, but the wolf overtook him, and if it hadn't been for the men who didn't hear the shots, but before that saw strangers heading to the woman's house, then most likely the wolf would have left the criminal lying there. The wolf was wounded in the hind leg and the woman began to bandage it, but after a few minutes he tore everything off and licked the wound. The veterinarian said that the bullet was poured and prescribed antibiotics. A month later, the wolf was cheerful again, but he was already very wary of any stranger, and here he was taught a lesson that man is the most terrible animal. Grandma and Musya lived as before, but he did not want to let her leave the house because he was afraid that something might happen to her.